Hi, Melody here. You might know me as Apple Pie Movement. I am a humanitarian, sharing the conversations with humanity which need to be heard. In today's conversation with the founder of Bluebaire Clothing, a former professional baseball player turned fashion designer, we discuss the concept of blue, building life undivided. So, come on, grab a piece of pie and join our conversation.
Who are the pastors of your church?
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Crossroads Church, but it is Brian Tome and Chuck Mingo. And Chuck Mingo specifically is an African-American pastor. Brian Tome is Caucasian, but they work very well together. And Chuck has been very outspoken on racial equality and actually started the Undivided program. I believe this year when I was in at Stanford University, had some researchers in town. They were just kind of trying to understand what really is taking place. Cincinnati is a city that historically there's been a lot of racial tension here. And so to start something like that here in this city, I think is very, very, very powerful and is very important. So, it's spreading.
What is the denomination of your church?
So our church is non-denominational. So we do not associate with any specific denomination.
The curriculum that you're offering, is it that your church offers, is it offered to other civic groups that maybe aren't of the Christian faith?
Actually open. Anybody can take part in it. And it's interesting because a lot of times there are not faith-based individuals who are part of the conversations, which I think is awesome. It's great to be able to get outside perspective. And a lot of times people feel that church is very overpowering with the church message. So that puts a lot of people off. And that is not at all what Crossroads is after. They are really after racial reconciliation, and really trying to bridge that gap of being undivided.
What is the curriculum? Is it a 6-week course, or do you have a manual? Do you have a whole process? How does that work? Very fascinating.
Yeah, so it actually is a 6-week dive into racial reconciliation. But sometimes it's not so much the curriculum, it's kind of what takes place, the workshops, if you will, within the program. It's a little exhausting, but you realize that, man, we have a long way to go. And if we're gonna if we're gonna make anything happen, it's got to be intentional and it has to be on purpose. The thought is if we can equip people with understanding, then I think that when they have interactions with different races of people, it will not be met with as much tension as it is currently. So I think sometimes they mention knowledge is power, and I think that's really the goal, is just to provide knowledge.
Is your church an open and affirming church? Are you open to the gay community as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that honestly is one of the reasons why we selected the church.
I definitely think that this is something that is very, very needed. And I've been looking myself to speak in other churches and to kind of open up to the Christian community in the Bible Belt, because that seems to be a pocket that isn't necessarily addressed and given attention to. And I think that the Christian base kind of needs to open up, even if theologically you may not agree with everybody, just to kind of open yourself up to see the humanity and respect the humanity.
Totally agree.
So
and it's tough. Oftentimes people look at church as it's a place where you should be able to go and heal, and church becomes, the same one or the same as many who is, throwing stones and making things difficult. So, I think it's important that the church not do that, and be more inclusive to everybody, which I think Crossroads is doing. So I think it's been a great thing for the church and for the city.
Right. No, I agree. I've actually been looking for a place to receive some training to become a better racial healing facilitator with the talks that I'm doing. I just wanted to educate myself. And I have a Bible college degree. I was in full-time ministry for over 20 years before I started out with this. I don't actively attend church, so I applied with another denomination to become a racial healing facilitator. And even though I have a theological background and the biblical training, I don't actually attend a church right now. So I was denied, even though they saw what I'm doing. So,
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm doing what they're saying you should be doing, but
absolutely.
Told me I'll go to church if I need to. It's not something I do right now, but I have a Bible and I'm, but I can. And so they denied me, and I thought, well, that's bad that you're excluding people.
Right. Absolutely.
So I kind of don't want to
Absolutely.
recommend this program. Other people can't necessarily join, because I think that this is something that is needed, and learning how to become a racial healing facilitator, even if Christianity isn't your cup of tea, is something that's needed. And if people feel safe and feel that they're not going to have the Bible jammed down their throat, then maybe they might be willing to open up and participate.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And, I think that's important. I mean, I think church hurts more people than it helps, it appears. And, to your point, I mean, it's not about that. It's about, trying to provide tools to allow people to, make some decisions for themselves. And, I think that that's important. So I'm really saddened to hear that you were denied access, because I think what you're doing is great. And I think it's very, very needed.
Right. Well, I think their program is developed more so for church leaders to bring their program into their church, not necessarily for individuals. So maybe it just isn't, positioned for that. Have you ever read Racial Healing magazine, or have you heard of that?
I have not. And I will, full transparency, I am really at the very beginning of trying to educate myself on more of the racial reconciliation. And that's no fault of anybody but my own, because I really want to make this a part of my work. And I understand, as part of my work, not only am I trying to make clothing that people will like and be fashionable, but I also need to be, I need to be clear on what it is that I'm representing. But if that's a good magazine for me to read, I'd love to take a dive at it.
Yes, actually, the founder of that magazine, Milagros Phillips, information that she has taught me and what I have read through that magazine has been transformational and mind-opening. She shares that racial healing is at its root a spiritual healing that needs to take place. It's a very deep spiritual work. I think it's very important for churches to be involved with this type of a work. It's healing from within yourself and within each of our communities before we can build bridges of communication with each other. And it's more healing than fighting. There are groups out there, they go to the LAPD and they protest, and they go here and there and they protest. But I agree with Dr. King and Mother Teresa that building a bridge of peace is a better way to go. And I don't see really any churches actually involved with community work. So I might reach out to the pastors later.
I'm sure that they would love to hear from you, and the things that you're doing as well, because it's right up their alley.
I hope that you will choose to be blue too, because Cameron has a great brand. It needs to be out there. Thank you, Cameron, for joining us for another Apple Pie Table Talk, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.